an ease of doing business review of GST. I would like to invite our panelists to come on the stage, please. Mr. Somesh Arora, advocate and former commissioner IRS. Mr. Somesh Arora is a distinguished advocate and former Indian Revenue Service officer with experience of more than 25 years in various organizations in the Government of India, including Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce. He is a practicing advocate since 2009 with specialization in the areas of money laundering and taxation. He has also worked in various premier investigating agencies and has successfully conducted some of the leading service tax, customs, excise, and FEMA investigations. He has published about 500 articles in leading legal and tax journals and has to his credit 4 prior publications. Dr. Rajinder Gupta, former Commissioner GST. Dr. Rajinder Gupta has served various positions in Central Excise, Service Tax, Customs, GST and DRI for over 2 decades. He was actively involved during the launch of GST. C. Anoop Gupta, Senior Partner, Upton Associates. He is a member of the Indirect Tax Committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He was a member in research group on GST constituted by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India during 2015 and 16. He has been a speaker for various seminars and trainings conducted by the ICAI and has also imparted trainings on taxation and allied matters to PSUs and MNCs. C. Atul Kumar Gupta, Chairman, GST Committee, Federation of Indian Industry, past President ICAI, and a renowned GST speaker and author. And Ms. Timsy Jaipuria, Deputy Editor, CNBC TV 18, is our moderator for the panel discussion today. She is an experienced journalist and renowned media personality known for her analytical research and deep analysis. Previously, she has worked with reputed news publishing organizations like the Hindustan Times, Financial Express, and the Pioneer, covering economy, infrastructure, trade, and corporate business segments. Over to you, ma'am.
We have with us the Honorable Director of Finance from the DFCCIL, Shri Hira Vallabhji. May I request him to please come on the dais?
Well, this session is all about ease of doing business, and I see most of tax practitioners, industry participation here, and something that touches everyone today is how easy the GST has made this particular tax regime. Something that every one of us is facing today because we all are end consumers, and most importantly, we deal with the complex tax structure when it comes to our clients, when it comes to taxpayers who are unable to file their returns, and ease of doing business is something that touches each and every one of us. Let me start with Mr. Hira Vallabh, because he being one person with a lot of experience at dedicated freight corridor, and what we are given to understand is that ease of doing business is something that his clients definitely are looking for. Mr. Vallabh, what would you like to say when it comes to ease of doing business? What comes to your mind immediately?
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this summit. In fact, it is going to contribute towards the ease of doing business. I am Director of Finance of PSU, where I have been facing a lot of issues. So it is basically a number of new issues have come up, and what Jain Saab was saying कि जितना सरल हो जाए तो उसकी अपेक्षा है कि कैसे हो ये, और एक भय का माहौल बना हुआ है. पहले तो बहुत ज़्यादा था. इवन जो experts हैं वो भी they go towards a very conservative side unless they are well known, like Mr. Gupta ji was with helping us in some of the issues. They at least take some very good stand, but there also that problem is there. And thirdly, like the act itself, there are so many confusing things. For example, I would like to highlight one issue. Among the civil structures, it's not very clear that whether the track, my project, there is, in fact, it is costing about more than 1 lakh crore. So you can imagine the impact of GST on us. So if we define the civil structure, whether it is movable, immovable, it can be categorized as part of that can be categorized as plant and machinery. These are the issues, having so much impact, and there is no clarity anywhere. Whom to ask, where to go, and who is going to clear these things. And the impact in my case is in thousands of crores, each corridors. So these are the issues, I think larger issues, more the experts, better it is. The very, very top people are here and participating, and they have expressed what is, I heard Mr. Jain, and such a wonderful conclusions that how to grow, how to move forward, what people must be facing. He knows it, he understands it. That is what the clarity is required. I won't say much about on these issues because there are so many experts. I would rather like to hear them. Thank you very much.
That was indeed insightful, sir. As you rightly said, that the quantum of business being so huge, but still, when it comes to the issues that we are dealing with, they continue to run across various sectors, and I'm sure even our other audience members, our panelists on this floor, they also agree that these issues are something that they are dealing with on a daily basis. Can I come across to Mr. Somesh Arora now, who's a former IRS also? Sir, do you think that ease of doing business is something that is still missing when it comes to GST? What can be the areas that where government, where tax practitioners can work together to strengthen the system and get in more ease of doing business?
Well, you talked about ease of doing business, so I'll start with my own business of being a legal professional. I have a mound of manuals and tax journals which is this much high, and my briefs are this much long. But that doesn't mean that I may be facing the unease of doing business because of changes of law happening so frequently. But the lesser litigation also points out, that somewhere maybe the litigation hasn't started big way. And if you look at it, the litigation is primarily about administrative leave or procedural laws and all that. I was very enthused to listen to Mr. Jain because I feel he was a person, who's having pulse of bureaucracy, who's having pulse of business, and probably the political pulse also, a very rare combination. When he spoke about political parties, I said, oh, okay, like any other political person. But when he spoke about bureaucracy and business, I was really impressed. See, as far as this thing is concerned about ease of doing business, I'll say, it has definitely brought in ease of business as far as big businesses are concerned, elite businesses. But when we talk of SMEs, the report is not very positive. The reasons are not difficult to look in for. You have something like 36 returns in case you're not availing composition scheme. Composition scheme has, of course, brought in some relief. We have raised the limit to 1.5 crores from 50 lakhs. You did it in no time, 2-3 years, and it was there. Wonderful. Because see, that means maintaining lesser accounts and all that and all. But still you have to file returns on a quarterly basis and all that. Compare it with the income tax. On one side, you have the goods. Up to 2 crores, you need not maintain account, just notional and pay the tax. But here, 1.5 crores, you have to file returns, you have to maintain accounts. So what is given by one hand is taken away by the other. Uneasiness, right? So big businesses, yes, they are getting instant credit now, e-invoice limits are coming down. And probably revenue has also found out that, okay, bring down the e-invoice limit, revenue is going up, good way. That's because you are getting instant credit. Something which was not happening till now. credit is the lifeline of the businesses, especially for those who work at a very low margin. So definitely things have become easy. Transport, what mentioned, yes, things are much easier now. No octroys, nothing. So that provides ease of business. Definitely the problem with the small businesses is, that the threshold is very complicated. Supposing if I have to understand I am at the limit of 20 lakhs, which became 50 lakhs for goods, but services is still continuing 20 lakhs for some strange reason I'm not very sure of. Gujarat election last time had seen a limit being raised from 20 lakh to 50 lakh. We have Gujarat election again, so maybe something is considered about services also. But anyhow, that was a good move. See, when you are getting more revenue, which is running into this thing, try to simplify the bottom level, clarify the threshold, bring it up gradually. You are doing away exemptions, very good, make tax simple. But at the same time, simplify the threshold. Have you ever heard of a threshold which talks of an aggregate turnover? You have to understand the concept of taxable turnover, non-taxable turnover, exempted turnover, reverse charge turnover, and interstate sales. And this person comes to me, supposing sitting on Mohali, I am an advocate in Chandigarh. He says, okay, you sell it in Chandigarh or you're selling in Mohali only? Interstate, nil. So this threshold also becomes variable. It comes to zero at times. Export turnover, exclusive fine. But in combination with something else, I am doing reverse charge. If supposing I have rental income, I am not giving my shop for rent also, thinking, that I am easy doing this thing, rent I'll not earn. The moment I have aggregate turnover, I'll be required to file so many returns. And then complicating the matter are advanced ruling authorities. You have advanced ruling which says the interest is also part of taxable turnover. Even if my money is lying in my account, this is the interest earned is supplied. If it's lying in Provident Fund account, Provident Fund does not accept business accounts. It is individuals only. So the other day I met a top bureaucrat with the Ministry of Finance. I said, do you understand that if you retire after 30 years, you will be asked to file returns at least for 1 year on the Provident Fund interest which you would have got, because your aggregate turnover has increased to 20 lakh. So kindly, those things have to be clarified. The life is not easy for the business who are at just close to the threshold, because your threshold is the most complicated this thing. And somewhere the bureaucracy has to clear the threads to make it simple at that level. Unless that happens, I'll not endorse it fully. Yes, a very good experiment. GST is there to stay. You splashed the baby in a swimming pool in 2017. Difficulties were there. GST network was good for nothing at that time. It took time. Now it is only stabilizing, so you're bringing down the limits of this thing. Return filing was so difficult. My CA friends will bear me out on that. Until you clear your threshold in a very specific terms. As an advocate, I don't understand what an aggregate turnover. My learned friend here, Mr. Jain, was talking about income tax return. I challenge anybody, including advocates, to come and debate with me about the threshold. You have to understand the whole law just to understand the threshold. Do you expect a person sitting at the turnover 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs to understand all this law, which we lawyers are finding difficult? So kindly clear that. Unless until you do that, you are self-claiming your this thing. It is not there. Ease of business is not there for the smaller businesses. It is definitely there for the elite businessmen. So this is my view on that. Thank you.
That I definitely agree. When it comes to small businesses, ease of doing business is still far, and as you rightly said, that the law scriptures are this much, and when it comes to the brief, it might not be even that simple to reach to that level of coming out saying these are the two crux lines. I would now like Atul Gupta ji to try and simplify ease of doing business when it comes to especially some of your clients, some of the tax practitioners. What should they consider as doing to get more ease of doing business? Because we understand that moving government is difficult. So moving ourselves could be much easier as compared to moving the government. So what could actually be the best practices that a CA or a tax practitioner can follow to bring in ease of doing business for himself and for his clients?
Thank you, Timsy. And at the outset, I should say thanks to you as well for joining this panel, because I may not aware that the Kritika has, but she is the deputy editor of CNBC, and you may have seen at times her on the CNBC channel when she is explaining all the tax related, so she is handling the entire tax, direct tax and indirect tax on the CNBC. So thanks that you joined us today on this for moderating this panel. As rightly mentioned by Somesh ji, that I will just touch upon some of the aspects related to the ease of doing as well. That certainly, as we discussed in the last session, that by removing this cascading effect, I will go further, that there were various kind of barriers. So earlier, as rightly mentioned by Jain Sahab as well, that whenever your goods will cross a state, so there will be a kind of a chungi, that you have to pay that the tax, the octroi, the entry tax, and so and so. And even Batraji in the earlier session mentioned that you have to have the different rates everywhere. So on the footwear, you may have a different rate in one state, and the another state you will have the different rate. And a lot of other things were there encompasses with this kind of a state-based legislature. So even as a consultant, I can tell you, Timsy, that even the consultants were not the national. So it's not only the one nation, one tax, it was the consultant as well. Because if I am expert of the Delhi VAT, even I will not be able to serve the Haryana VAT, because the different procedures, formulas, rules will be there, and it will be very difficult. So I remember when I started my practice in the service tax, so I was looking that whether I should practice in VAT or service tax. So what happened that we received a client who was looking for this VAT, Haryana VAT. So even the book on the Haryana VAT, to access the book on the Haryana VAT was very difficult. What to talk about the law and other things. So now in the GST regime, as we discussed, that there is a lot of uniformity as far as these law is concerned, these procedures are concerned, and even the classification, the rate of tax, everything is there. But at the same time, I will say, and because that is the preamble of my answer as well, that at the same time, we find the new areas of problem. So one area you resolved, but you created the another area, as he also mentioned and other colleagues are also mentioned, that now you have to have a state-based assessment. So what you have to do, that in case you are available in 22 states, you have to take the 22 registration. Other than the goods, it's fine. But even for the services at time, because if you have a principal place of business over there, for example, the GTA and also, and so earlier they were not supposed to take the registration for GTAs per se specifically, and other even the like for renting and other. And now you have to take the 22 registrations, you have to have the 22 scrutinies, 22 audits, 22 assessments, and then the different assessments by one authority as compared to the another authority. Then you are in a dilemma whether X authority is right in classification or the Y authority is right in the classification. Sir mentioned about the input tax credit. So one state will say, I will allow the credit on civil structure. The another state will say, I will not allow you the credit on civil structure. So what the management, want the business to take the decision. So there are the similar issues which actually which got developed over a period of time with the kind of I will say the policy kind of things, or I will say sir ने बोला कि वो जो research scholars हैं, जो हमारे research scientists हैं, उनकी approach से, that is the approach created by them, that lot of issues which emerged out in the recent past, as I discussed on the other, that the export turnover will be calculated on a CIF versus FOB. So they feel that okay, if FOB will be there will be less refund. So let us decide that कि हम लोग जो है वो एक्सपोर्ट जो है वो CIF पे नहीं देंगे, हम FOB पे देंगे ताकि रिफंड थोड़ा कम जाए, as if कि किसी की पर्सनल जो है. So that is there. Now here I just wish to answer your question that what should be the takeaway, what should be that the professional should be doing. So as I just mentioned that since we are living in an era when there is a one nation, one tax, but the 28 assessments are there. So the very, very important three aspects I will just touch upon. Number one, that every business, every SSC should ensure that they are maintaining the three very, very important records. And actually that help them to not only handle all the litigation and the compliance, but also in the future, whenever there will be the audit or something like the scrutiny is there, number one is the stock register, number two is the input tax register, and number three, very importantly, the fixed asset register. And then how we can automate the things. Because once you will have the more and more automation, today if I give you that today the technology is acting a great disruptor. RPAs, the robotic process automations, the automation, the way it is handling. For example, today our brothers are facing a problem that they have to cross a road and you have been told that there should not be any accident, but your eyes are tied with a cloth and आपको बोल दिया गया है कि accident नहीं होना चाहिए. Meaning thereby you have to claim the credit only and only when the supplier will pay the tax to the government exchequer. But I will not give you the data that whether he has actually paid or not. So you have to assume that okay, he must have paid, because you will get only the 3B, but you will not get the data in the 3B that whether the gentleman has actually paid the tax for the invoice raised by you or not. But now the technology, how the technology is working, that the technology is creating an automation in a way that if you are, say for example, if you are raising an invoice, automatically the 2A, 2B reconciliations will be achieved, your returns can be filed through the system driven process only, or the ITC registers can be developed. So my take will be I have taken more the time as compared to, I believe so. So my take will be, or my piece of advice to all the professionals will be that let us concentrate, let us invest more on the technology, that how the technology can support you into this environment, because as you rightly mentioned, that there are the less hopes from the authorities that they will ease out the things. It is the professionals who or the colleagues who are working in the organizations that you have to take a step further, that okay, how I can reduce my burden. So I believe that these kind of technology, the disruptive technology which is available otherwise, can automate the number of things, can reduce the human intervention, can reduce the burden of the compliance in case you try to merge the things in such a way that if you are doing one thing, automatically the 5 other things are getting systemized and getting auto reconciliation from the GSTN. Today the GSTN is providing the various APIs, and through the APIs, if you will use those APIs, there will be n number of reconciliations which is getting happened through this system itself. Say for example, the 2A, 2B reconciliation and so, that helps the assessees, because we have to live in a system. Now the job is, as she rightly asked, so what we have to do, that is something that okay, I believe is only the way forward, only the way available with us, that let us, so system change नहीं होगा, हमें ही change होना पड़ेगा वाली जो philosophy है उसके तहत, that we have to do the things in a perspective which is being given to us.
As you rightly said, maybe technology can become a savior for the tax professionals when it comes to how easy they can make their own business. I would now like to speak to Somesh Arora ji again, because he spoke about one aspect that everyone must take care, that SMEs is something who are actually now facing this issue. Mr. Arora, if you can tell me that when it comes to one single point which should be the first measure that government should take to ease the pain for SSEs, for small SSEs, what should it be?
See, as I said, initially, you have to clarify threshold, because see, that is where everybody is thinking whether I should fall this way or that way. They go to the consultants, they try to understand the law, becomes very difficult, because I wrote an article that kindly cleared the threshold first. I have received phone calls right from Calcutta, Chennai, of unknown people saying, sir, can you hammer it on the government? I said, I can do it only up to by writing articles and all that. So these are the areas of concern. Your threshold is very, very vague, perhaps the most complicated in the world. Whom do you expect that a person with a 20, 40, 50 lakh turnover will understand the concepts like aggregate turnover, taxable turnover, non-taxable turnover, on which litigation is still taking place in excise and other laws? So we have to be very clear that whom we are trying to feed. Feed him according to his mouth. Don't give him so much, that he finds it difficult to eat and chew only, what to talk of digesting. So be clear, you have to clear the threshold. This is what I keep on emphasizing even on my friends. How far it has been how far it has gone into the mind, I'm not very clear. Secondly, as far as this thing is concerned, technology is concerned, definitely, the SMEs who are in the big towns, they have a better access to technology, better access to electricity. In the last budget, we saw, there was a proposal to lay down these underground cables, whatever they call it, 5G and all that. So with that, I'm hopeful that electricity will go to the remotest of the corners. There are people who want to pay taxes right down in the beginning, but they're scared of so many returns being asked to be filed. If you are not in composition scheme, still the number of returns which are required to be filed is phenomenal. Kindly raise the bar for services and all that. Do away exemptions, not a problem. That will simplify the tax. And also raise the bar. Okay, threshold should be at something like 1 crore. Why not? How many people are paying taxes who are below 1 crore to you? You are already, by downing the threshold of e-invoices up to 20 crores, and maybe, in the future will be something like 5 crores, instant credit, big benefit. Those who are above 5 crores, by e-invoicing, they will get instant credit. Phenomenal ease of business will be there. Return filing can be even self-collated. But what about the small businesses? Think of them. Give them a good threshold, your economy will improve. Now, your law is so complicated that a person with a 40, 50 lakh turnover, he thinks it's better to earn by not taking the registration. Because it's so complicated, whether it will be taken or not to be taken, everybody has a different opinion. If he will go to 5 lawyers or 5 CAs, everybody will give him different opinion. So he ends up getting confused. So he says either I start right from the beginning, zero turnover by doing some interstate turnover, or I don't get into the tax side. You are the loser. He will undermine his invoicing to some extent. He can do it, even today. Right? The big businesses.
So then the answer again lies to what Atul Gupta ji said, that maybe government will not be able to clarify what could be an easy way to calculate threshold and turnovers, and maybe a system generated, say, artificial intelligence is what is going to help us out.
See, whatever artificial intelligence does will be done through the human intelligence only. Somewhere the law will have to provide that.
I would like to take this question forward to Anoop Gupta now, because he is also dealing with a lot of clients who are in this area, and they would like to know from him as to what should be when it comes to ITC, because ITC is something that everyone is a little worried about. They take credits, they take refunds, and something that bothers us, that there's an untimely refund, untimely credit that is pending, and how should that be adjusted? How should we map those things? So what do you think should be the area of concern there?
Yeah, thank you, Timsy, for giving me this question. Actually, on a daily basis, being a chartered accountant, being a practicing GST practitioner, I am coping with these type of questions only from my clients, that how I can take this credit and how I can manage these things. What would be my reconciliation issues in the when the authorities will come to us, how it will be faced, and how I can manage before them that this is my true and fair picture. What should I show to them? Okay, I am doing the thing correctly. I know that I am taking the credit only as per the requirements of the law, but all businesses are different. All things are different. Like sir has said that in their business there is a peculiar condition that they are losing the credits of thousands of crores just because they don't have the clarity whether the track which they are laying, it is a civil structure or it is a plant and machinery. Even the railway ministry, they have gone to the railway ministry, they have gone to the finance ministry. Nobody is giving the answer to the point that what should be done. So in those scenarios, we are facing these type of problems, and sometimes we are ending up losing those input tax credits and the due refunds which we can get. The as regards if you speak about refunds in the GST era, though GST law, I must say, is very sorted out, and the concept of GST, one nation, one tax, and smooth flow of credit should be there. But I think we have missed somewhere. There is a point where it got blocked somewhere. Like if we say in case of reverse charge mechanism, what happens? It is always a double taxation in a reverse charge mechanism. Why it is required to have a reverse charge mechanism in the economy? Why we do not believe our citizens, our taxpayers, that the tax burden has to be shifted to somebody else? I am providing the supplies, but I cannot pay the tax has to be paid by somebody else. What about the input tax credits of mine? It is my exempted turnover in my hands. So what will be done? So that will pose a problem of double taxation in my hands. Like sir is doing the practice of, he's an advocate. So whatever things he uses for his office, so what goes to his credit? Can he take the input tax credit? No, because it is a exempted turnover in his hands, and it is being paid. The tax on the turnover has been paid by the clients, but he is not able to get that credit. So these are the blockades. These are the things where we are helpless sometimes, and we have to go with the wind, and we have to say to our clients that okay, you have to manage these things, and you have to be on a receiving end. These are the things which we face on a daily basis, and rightly said by Atulji, the only thing is that the more and more we automate our systems, we make the robust accounting, we start from the entry point. When a data operator enters a voucher in the system, then only we have to be very careful that it has been rightly entered as per the provisions of GST. Whether it is a credit which is allowed, whether it is a partially credit, what type of credit it is, it should be known to him that where it is to be entered. And that can only be happened through a robust system of accounting, robust procedures in place, proper training of our the employees, and all those things should be there. Only then we can overcome these challenges.
You rightly said that ITC is something that needs to be resolved. Similarly, one area where a lot of our clients, a lot of our viewers, a lot of our audience is also catering to is exports. And I heard that Dr. Rajinder Gupta is excelling in that. So what would you think as an exporter that the government needs to work on, and how best maybe a tax practitioner can help ease that area so that an exporter can take the best benefit out of GST and not pay more GST as compared to what is due to him?
Thank you, Timsy. I will first quote Mr. Deepak Jain sir. When I met him today, first thing he has told me, you have left the government, but you will take a long time to change your mindset. So mindset is the biggest problem we are facing everywhere. I will not say with the government, with the trade also to some extent. Don't like take me that way. But my concern is there is ease of business. Again, what is expected from a tax law? It has to be welfare minded. GST is number one welfare minded because it subsumed 14 taxes, 14 returns, 14 authorities. But where it is lacking, it's not user friendly as of now. We are facing mostly on ease of handling. And in exports also, I will like to quote, because I was working in GST Delhi for the starting from June 17 onwards till 19 and all those. Initially there were, if you remember, there were export refund melas and all were conducted by the government to clear off all the exporters' refunds. Those were done to clear off because a lot of issues were pending. There were problems with software. There was problem with new law and all those. But then after that, there was certain fraudulent cases which were exposed. As a result, government became overcautious. Here I will like to say that, like Timsy said, how we exporters can help. Because export trade is, here the GST refund is basically to avoid the transfer of taxes abroad and make our exports competitive. Though of late, as Deepak Jain sir also told that there is delay in refunds because DGARM is clearing this thing. Atul Gupta clarified that L1, L2, all those aspects came in. But if we, as Atul Gupta sir said, we use more of technology, more of like clarity in the mindset that we have to do genuine exports. And then with the help of government, we can move it forward. This phase is of little mistrust which is going on. As a result, there is delay in the funds. But this has to be overcome by on the every side, because the mindset of the government needs to be changed. Government officials, they are overprotective and they are thinking that everything is wrong. That mindset is quite bad for the country. And that need to be changed. Then from the export side, the documentation and all should be complete. And then everything is online now. We can push for a better compliance from both sides. Like the refund has to be actually given in within 30 days, less 30 days. That timeline should be followed. And with compliance from all the sides, I think we can achieve it soon.
As you said, the government also needs to change its mindset. Coming back to Hira Vallabhji, who's still in the government, maybe he could be one of the key persons who can convey this message back to the government, being a stakeholder in the government. Do you think your interactions with maybe Railway Ministry and Finance Ministry when it comes to ease of doing business has helped at least the dedicated freight corridor, the PSU to which you belong to?
You see, that hasn't as yet. I mean, it may take little more time, but that stage would definitely come. I feel there is also lack of expertise in many places where the decisions are taken. So the experts like who have joined here, if they can support the system, the government, in that process, ultimately they have to support. There is no other way out, what I could understand. So, so things should be, there are a number of references made to GST Council, to many forums, to the government. Is there a setup which can deal with a large number of issues? Who is going to deal with such a tremendous amount of references received? Then we need to have experts. Because of that, because of the things are not very clear, then the expert also speak right now in different voices. If I refer one issue to 4 people, I get 4 type of advices. What to do now? So when the impact is so huge, so that sort of thing, ultimately the field, whoever is there, who met us, those people who have contributed in making these this acts a large part of it a very successful act. So that has to be again one more push is required from all of us, for all the experts. There should be a committee type thing which deals with these things, thresh out everything, so that everything, even thereafter, whatever we use the technology, then only that technology can be fruitful. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Coming back to Anoop Gupta, as you rightly said that maybe technology can be one aspect, but since taking this discussion forward from what Hira Vallabhji just said, that maybe we need to have a community who can streamline the issues instead of giving 5 different kind of advices, maybe come up with one specific advice so that can reach to the government, and government can also feel that yes, that can be something that maybe taxpayers, tax practitioners are feeling, and it is easier to get one demand accepted as compared to 10 or 15 demands. So what do you think will be that one demand that you will put forward from industry side, from your client side, and from your colleagues who are assisting so many clients, that this one area that government can easily work on?
Basically, Timsy, I would like to emphasize that if, as envisaged by the government, that there should be a good and simple tax. But over the period of 5 years.
Let me tell you, taxation term itself is not simple.
No, I know that.
We all deal with it, and we know it that any tax cannot be simple because it is a tax. The nature
I know.
itself is difficult because one has to pay.
Yeah, and nobody wants to pay. That's you are right in that sense. But if you see the ground reality, there are more than 1,000 notifications and circulars before us, and the about turns, the recent about turns in the GST regime, my friend was telling me that in respect of that some textiles or thing, they have lower the tax rate from 12% to 5%, and now they have again increased that to 12%. So there are, you being the government also, I cannot say that they can touch upon all the things. There may be some loose ends. There may be the things where there can be two interpretations of a law. A law cannot be worded as straight as we say ki we have to frame a law which will cater everybody in a very simple language, in a very simple thing. It cannot be done. The litigations will be there. The things will be there. Only the procedures, only the untimely changes in the law which are not warranted for as such, that should be minimized. That should be minimized. If I take the example of Vallabhji only, they have envisaged a 1 lakh crore project, right? And at that time, that project was taxable at the rate of 12%. So, but now, from 18th onwards, that project will be 6% more. Their cost will be increased by 6%. They are not getting the credit of that ITC which they are paying to the contractors, and their cost is increased to 6%. Within a span of 1 month, they are going to how they will deal with it. I don't know, Vallabhji, what he is thinking about that, but they have to deal with it. They have to increase the cost by 6%, which at the just before 5 years, they have thought that our cost is 1,12,000 crores, and now it is 1,18,000 crores. How to get this 6,000 crores from the government? Because it is a government project. It will be funded by government only or World Bank. So what will be done? So these type of things which the changes like anything over a night, it got changed, and all those things, that should be minimized and it should be settled. I know there are teething problems, there are things which they have to be settled, but now the boy has turned 5. Now he can walk on his own. So no need to intervene him while walking. Let him walk.
You rightly said the boy has turned 5 and now he needs to walk on his own. So coming back to Atul Gupta ji, sir, what do you think should be one area where government can actually change itself and bring in more ease of doing business? Do you think it is frequent rate changes that government can stop and maybe get the rates changed only once a year, so that the systems are also aligned? Because as he rightly said, that maybe 5 years back the viability of business was at 12%, and now with the rate increase the business is no longer viable. It takes time for the systems also to readjust the rates and start calculating the finances yet again, because it's a reverse calculation that you do. You have achieved to a final cost. Now you have to come down as to see how best you can make it viable within that final cost.
Timsy, hello. Timsy, what I will say that multi-facet dimensions I can speak. So it is always difficult that when you have, you understand a number of things and you have to speak only two. I will just take an example which Anoop ji and sir mentioned. I will say on the other side, impact of frequent changes. Now, I was doing, say for example, I was doing the project related to sir's company only, and my contract was inclusive of tax. I quoted X amount, assuming that the GST rate will be 12%. I have to charge. Now, my margin was say 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%. Now, suddenly you change the rate to 18%. So, where will be the survival? So, when you are doing this practically on a very frequent pace, you need to understand, as rightly mentioned by sir, that the entrepreneurs or the businessman is putting his heart and soul, his entire life, to run a project wherein he is generating the employment, bringing the laurel, bringing the foreign investment to India, and everything whatever he can do, and for the benefit of the entire society. You have to respect. You have to give them that kind of an ecosystem that, okay, ultimately I am there to support you. It is not the case that, okay, on the one fine day in the night, you decided that, okay, I feel that I have to increase the collection, or I am finding that there are some kind of undesirable practices are going on, as mentioned by Dr. Saab, and tomorrow morning I will change the entire schema. So what will happen with the guys who are genuinely trying to run the show? The another aspect you asked from me, that one thing which I can request the government from this platform, that what is happening because of the large number of circulars and the notification being issued, and they are overriding each other. So at least we should have an endeavor to issue the master circular, like the RBI is issuing, that, okay, these are the finally 1 year changes. Because at times you will not be able to capture all the circulars and the notification issued to see that, okay, this is...
That seems to be a practical suggestion actually.
Yeah.
When it comes to so many notifications, so many office memorandums, circulars, that there should be one clear guidebook that one can maybe look back instead of going deep into each and every notification, even noting that yes, maybe there's a notification which skipped your mind.
And even I can tell you, at the central level, still the circulars are available. But what about the state? That when they are issuing some orders, some trade notices and everything. So at least like the RBI is issuing, so we are not saying it will have a retrospective effect. You only just compile and give a master circular or the master compilation of the notification that, okay, this is there, which I started from 1st of April to 31st March, and this is something that you please read and at least keep yourself updated.
So that can be one guidebook that government can come up with, and I'm sure government is listening. I would now like to ask questions from the audience, because there are so many questions that our audience have, and they would want our key panelists to answer those questions. If you can raise your hand and maybe the mic can come to you. Starting with Mr. Jain, because he was the first one to raise his hand.
देखिए दो तीन चीज़ें हमारे करने की हैं SGST, IGST, CGST, 28 प्रांत जिसमें रजिस्ट्रेशन है, फिर हम बोल रहे हैं ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस है ये।
सर मैं थोड़ा सा ऐड कर देता हूँ। आपको एक स्टेट से, अगर आपके एक स्टेट में क्रेडिट पड़ा हुआ है इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्रेडिट लेजर में, तो वो आप दूसरी स्टेट में शिफ्ट भी नहीं कर सकते हैं। तो आपको एक जगह पे टैक्स पे करना है, दूसरी जगह पे आपको उसको कैरी फॉरवर्ड करना है।
आज के समिट का निचोड़ निकाल के सरकार को भेजिए कि प्रांतों में जो टीम है आपकी, वो पुरानी सेल टैक्स वाली टीम है, उसको बाइज्जत दूसरे डिपार्टमेंटों में शिफ्ट कर दीजिए, थोड़ी हल्का कीजिए। वही लोग ऑडिट में आते हैं, परेशानियां वही लोग खड़ी करते हैं। आखिर एंटरप्रेन्योर जिएगा कैसे? वो पुराने भूत उनके सिर के ऊपर सवार रहते हैं। तो ये सब मर्ज करके एक टैक्स है, एक देश है, एक रेट होना चाहिए और जीवन की सहजता की तरफ हमको जाना चाहिए, नहीं तो $30 ट्रिलियन के सपने हमको थोड़े से मुश्किल दिखाई देंगे।
You rightly said that maybe we all can compile one key suggestion book also that the government can be presented with. Next question. That gentleman in blue shirt over there on the second table here. I'll take him next. I'll take him next.
Sir, my concern is regarding personal guarantees being given by the directors for a loan to be taken by companies. There is a reverse charge mechanism, they have to pay GST. There is no clarity on what value, irrespective of the net wealth or of directors. In audit, they are charging with interest. Means one we have to pay, then credit is available, then also there is a high interest cost to us. Can you please?
अगर मैं अपनी ओपिनियन आपको दूं, पर्सनल ओपिनियन, तो ये टैक्सेबल है ही नहीं. पहले भी कॉर्पोरेट, हाँ मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, कुछ नहीं है रिलेटेड सर. पहले एक एक्टिविटी को टैक्सेबल भी होना है, पहले एक एक्टिविटी को सप्लाई भी होना है. तो आज से जब सर्विस टैक्स की रिजीम के अंदर भी कॉर्पोरेट जो गारंटी दी जाती थी एक कंपनी से दूसरी कंपनी, उसके लिए नोशनल वैल्यू को निकाल के उस पर सर्विस टैक्स की डिमांड जो है वो क्रिएट करने की कोशिश की गई थी. और उस टाइम पे भी जो है वो जो डिसीजन जो अपने बोर्ड से जो वो हुआ, डेलिब्रेशन हुआ, उसके बाद उसको आगे नहीं बढ़ाया गया. सिमिलरली अगर हम बात करें तो हम बात कर रहे हैं कि एक डायरेक्टर ने अपनी कंपनी के लिए एक पर्सनल गारंटी दी, ठीक है साहब. अब इसको हम एक नोशनल वैल्यू निकाल के उसको सप्लाई मान के उसको कहें तो अल्टीमेटली क्या कर रहा है. अगर एक प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी है, जैसा कि जैन साहब ने अभी बात करी, वो कंपनी को लोन कैसे मिलेगा. एक या तो उसके पास कोई हाइपोथेकेट करने के लिए हो या फिर उसको एक पर्सनल गारंटर चाहिए है. तो एडिशनल लेवल अब डायरेक्टर नहीं देगा गारंटी है तो आप बोलोगे जी आपका स्टेक, आपका तो स्टेक पे क्या लगा. एंड अगर डायरेक्टर, इफ द डायरेक्टर इज गिविंग द गारंटी, देन यू आर सेइंग ओ इट्स अ सप्लाई यू आर प्रोवाइडिंग टू योर कंपनी इटसेल्फ. हाँ, सो देन यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट फॉर अ नोशनल वैल्यू. प्रैक्टिकली ये सब हाइपोथेटिकल हम लोग जो है वो एजम्पशंस हैं. जैसा कि सर ने बोला कि नोटिस पे सैलरी, अभी आपको यू गॉट द क्लैरिफिकेशन दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. सिमिलरली दिस इज नॉट अ सप्लाई पर से. दे मे हैव द डिफरेंट ओपिनियन, दे मे हैव अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ अ दैट एवरीबडी विल से ओ इट विल बी, बिकॉज सर ने बोला ना कंजर्वेटिव. तो अगर आप किसी भी उससे बोलेंगे, कहेगा भाई साहब यू पे, इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी विल बी डबल, सो यू पे, बट अदरवाइज इट्स नॉट अ सप्लाई. हाँ मुझे पता है सर, मैं उसी के आई एम सेइंग दैट ओनली दैट ऑन द कंजर्वेटिव साइड यू आर आल्सो आस्किंग ना, यू आर, बिकॉज यू स्टार्टेड विद द वैल्यूएशन दैट व्हाट विल बी द वैल्यू, बिकॉज यू assumed दैट इट इज टैक्सेबल टू सेव द इंटरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टी. सो दैट इज द पॉइंट. सो आई एम सेइंग दैट व्हाट काइंड ऑफ अ सप्लाई आई एम डूइंग. तो फर्स्ट द एक्टिविटी शुड बी अ सप्लाई, देन इट विल बी अ टैक्सेबल सप्लाई. व्हाट इज द सप्लाई आई एम गिविंग गारंटी that okay I am there in case if you the company will not pay, I will pay, say for example. Then what kind of a service, what kind of a supply I am giving to the company.
Next question.
Yeah,
We'll come back to you.
Most of the branches of SysTech have quashed the demands on corporate guarantees given to subsidiaries. Exactly sir, I mentioned that only sir. Yeah.
Please also direct your question. Take the name of the speaker whom you want to answer the question.
no, I will talk general also and specific also. My name is Sanjay Jain. I handle corporate taxation. We had about 120 registration having multiple companies. Before GST, we had to file so many returns in states and all those things, which now centrally we are able to do it, and no running around to many places and finding out the laws. So definitely on the procedural side, I say the law has simplified. Even I was under the, when this GST was there, I thought it will never be introduced because the complexity we are having in the legal system. But it is really remarkable to see that GST has been implemented. We are talking about the problems. Yeah, of course, problems were there in the earlier tax regime also. Now, controversies in the tax will always be there. Tax cannot be seen from the perspective, it is very simple. Now, how smart you have to play in the taxation is the main thing you have to work. Like Mr. Vallabh talked about some controversies in the taxation. Maybe that this controversies may be there in the earlier regime also. It is not that it has. So, there are, government has given some options also, like going for advance ruling. I don't know whether he has gone for advance ruling or not. And after advance ruling, you are not satisfied, you go to higher forum. But some legal processes has to be followed to get the controversy resolved. I have handled so many representations with the government authorities, and I have seen that they are very positive. If you are able to make your showcase case of that how beneficial and what is the impact. And I have been able to get many things amended in the law only because of my good representation through trade bodies.
I agree. I also interact with a lot of government officers on a daily basis, and I see that when industry comes to them with a specific query with the key representation, explaining that why it should be the other way around and not as prescribed in the government law, they are happy to amend it and they are happy to bring a change. But precisely as you said, that there are other forums where one can actually take up the matter, maybe
both
advanced
legally
ruling
and representation. First option should be representation, then legal option. Recently, we had a problem on getting refunds on SEZ, where there was a provision like you have to get the endorsement and through a special officer or authorized officer. It was an industry issue. But what we did is we just lodged a complaint in CP Gram, and we got a call from the CP Gram officer. Like, this is a problem, you give a representation. We gave the representation. And minded in 1-2 months' time, the law got amended. And it was mentioned that AO can do it, can certify. If you genuinely represent, it will happen. On the refund side also, in Delhi we had challenges on getting the refund and acute problem, and we had a vast refund, which, we have high refund we were having. We filed the rate in the court. We got the favorable order, and after that all our refund got processed. And after that also, you have to be very careful. Please be mindful that you have right to claim interest also. And now there has been recent decision that interest liability is on account of the officer. He has to personally liable. So you have to make them aware. Like, if you are not giving refund in time, then you are accountable to pay this thing. So I'm just saying the system is there. Only thing we have to enforce the system.
So you mean to say that there has to be a proper guidance within the system also to get a result in your favor? You
have to play smart. That is what the point is. Now on the taxation side, like you mentioned about the change in the tax from 12 to 18%, 16%. I have had multiple government contracts and negotiated the contracts. So the important point in all the government contracts is how you negotiate a change in tax clause. Normally tax is to the account of the government. If there is a change in the tax clause, which is always all in the tender, if there is a change in tax law, that tax impact goes to the government.
So maybe there is an answer for Hira Ballabji that he can use the route of advanced ruling and get some clarity.
Madam, मैं बीच में बोल रहा हूँ just to share with you the advance ruling as a consultant. We all are sitting here. Actually, they are unsettling the settled situation. You are also aware that out of the 100 rulings, there are 90 rulings are there which settled. No, against is not a case of against, sir. And even Somesh ji rightly mentioned.
Confusions.
Yeah. So, sir, you are sitting on a position in a company. We are discussing, when we are discussing about the masses. So, everybody can't file a writ. Everybody can't approach to the advance ruling. Everybody can't go for this kind of a representation.
And hiring a legal professional itself is a cost.
But
itself is a compliance.
But remedy is there. And I'm telling you, in all the trade, whether it is MSME or any corporate, these are trade bodies. The trade bodies are because you can't.
Sir, I agree with Anoop Gupta ji that as a common man, provided today if I want to file a case, say on a civil side, it is very difficult for me also to file a suit.
On the threshold.
And it will cost me. It will have a dedicated time that one has to spare out, and that is very difficult for a common man. And that is something where the government needs to step in. That is why I feel that.
But our problems are not common only. Like Mr. Ballab's problem
is not common. He is running a business of 1 lakh crores.
So then it is not common. It is not common. On exporter also, who is getting a huge refund, it is not a common. So just let us not, you know, on the garb of common, we should not take the main issues, basically.
Huh.
But still, you can file a... But that is not a final, na? That is not binding. You can still challenge it. But at least there is a forum, you can challenge it and get ultimately...
We understand your point, sir.
Yeah.
We definitely take that.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, please.
कर दी गई, उसके बाद में हर ट्रांजैक्शन का FIRC सर्टिफिकेट मांगा गया। एक ट्रांजैक्शन में FIRC फॉरेन इनवर्ड रिमिटेंस सर्टिफिकेट।
Maybe Rajinder Gupta is the right person
और
to answer for export.
फॉरेन ये कहीं नहीं लिखा हुआ कहीं एक्ट में कि आपको फॉरेन इनवर्ड रिमिटेंस सर्टिफिकेट देना ही पड़ेगा, ये डिपार्टमेंट की डिमांड। दूसरी, जब एक सर्टिफिकेट को छोड़ के, एक ट्रांजैक्शन को छोड़ के कि जिसमें उनकी फीस का आपस में एडजस्टमेंट हुआ, उसको छोड़ के सब फॉरेन इनवर्ड रिमिटेंस सर्टिफिकेट पेश कर दिए गए, तो एम्प्लॉयज़ की डिटेल मांगी गई कि आपको एम्प्लॉयज़ जनरेशन हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है,
राजेंद्र
उसके बावजूद रिफंड रुका हुआ है।
That's not fair, I will say. ये सही नहीं है। और फॉरेन रेमिटेंस सर्टिफिकेट मैंडेटरी नहीं है GST में। That is because when you have exported and all the information comes, GST
को तैयार ही नहीं है वो। They are not agree to that it is zero rated supply without foreign inward remittance certificate.
बट उसमें आप आगे हायर फोरम पे जा सकते हैं कि दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट, बिकॉज व्हेन एक्सपोर्ट हैज बीन डन एंड ऑथराइज्ड एंड बिल ऑफ lading everything is issued and let export order is given by a officer, then they have to consider that it's export. Foreign remittance is not related with your export thing. This refund is incidental and I think you should get it without even this thing. For that you can follow up with the higher authority.
Maybe you can interact with him
See, in,
after this panel.
Yeah, just small point. In customs, it is specifically prescribed in the statute that FIR will be taken, only then drawback and other benefits will be given. So unless and until the statute is specifically providing, they should not ask it. ये तो वही हो गया गोविंदा की तरह, मेरी मर्जी कुतुब मीनार पे घर बनवाऊं. So like that only, no? Nothing beyond.
I'll take the last question now. That gentleman there.
Thank you so much. I have very general question from the jury, respected jury. So GST is a very fantastic idea where we are somehow improving and we are going a long way to go. However, there is a recent judgment where somehow states are getting motivated to play with the SGST or GST per se. Whatever the federal, I believe there is a recent judgment regarding that. So aren't we going backwards in this regard? If states are getting motivated to play with the GST, play with the SGST, so
Maybe.
See, you are talking about Mohit Ispat judgment.
right, there is a offshore freight related to
Mohit
GST,
Ispat.
yeah.
So basically, you know, what it said is the state is not binding on the state, excepting the primary law. Primary law, as far as we are concerned, includes rules, regulations, and this thing. So at least even in that judgment, they've said it is binding to that extent. All right. Whatever the council does is mostly concerned with that only. Only when they come out with some circular or something, you know, which they don't normally to the CBIC, which is in any case not binding. So I don't think it is really a big disturbance. And then somehow I have a feeling, you know, that because this was not exactly the issue before the Supreme Court, that did say something a lot about it, which was lapped up by the states and others because it suited various people fine. And then it was sensational. What I feel is that eventually, you know, it may be termed as an obiter dicta only, and Supreme Court has itself said that we keep on saying a lot of things by way of obiter is not binding. So I'll not be surprised tomorrow if you say that this was said by way of obiter only, right?
Many thanks. Many thanks. I think that answers your question. And you all are free to ask your queries after this panel to all our esteemed guests who are here on this floor. But thank you for interacting, and I hope a lot of your questions and queries have been answered by them, and you got a lot of clarity that maybe when it comes to ease of doing business, taking the best technology as your car can help you drive growth in your businesses is what I feel. It could be technology that can be actually a game changer when it comes to bringing in more ease of doing business.
Thank you so much for such an enlightening discussion. I would now like to invite CA Vikas Chabra to present a memento to Mr. Somesh. I would now like to invite Mr. Vikesh Dhyani to present a memento to Dr. Rajinder Gupta. I would now like to invite Varun Gaba to please present a memento to Shri Hira Balabji. I would now invite CA Mansi to please present a memento to CA Anoop Gupta ji. I would like to invite Mr. Manoj Kapoor to please present a memento to Ms. Timsy. Can we please have a group photograph?